Hey guys, welcome back. It's another Best of 2022 list, and this time we're tackling Best Director. So, I'm John Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, and I have a little bonus for you at the end of this, so stay tuned. It's a category I didn't want to make an entire thing about, but there's a little thing at the end. So, um, I have a top 10 list, and I guess I've been casually mentioning like an honorable mention, something I feel like bad didn't make. I suppose looking at my top 10, the one person that I really probably feel most bad about leaving off, but I feel solid about my top 10. But I don't do like top 11s or top 12s, or I think those are cop outs. So I'm just gonna say, yeah, I'll address the elephant in the room. I'm sorry, Todd Field missed the cut. Um, yeah, I think probably if I could see and could have actually seen his Kubrickian direction. But this is an interesting list because this is how a blind person ranks direction. And for me, I think about a director and I look at the film and I think about a lot of times I think about directors' previous work and sort of what they bring to a project. And some directors have um, their own thing. And you can see how it shapes and changes a project and how they made it better because you've seen their work before. I'll choose somebody who didn't do anything this year, like Christopher Nolan, for example. Um, a lot of times it's easy because you can see his previous work, you can grade it against his previous work, and you can see how the stylistic choices that he generally makes worked or didn't work within a given film. And I can do that even as a blind person. I miss out on the shots, which means I miss out on like cinematography. I miss out on production design and some of the editing choices and visual effects and some other things. So it misses around. It's a weird list. I'll be honest. There are some names on here that I don't think have been remotely considered for best director, but they directed some of my favorite films of the year. Um, Generally, this list is populated by directors I'm familiar with, but it also allows me the opportunity sometimes to be hit in the face with a new director that I did not know. And somebody I'm just like, oh my God, I need to know this person. I need to pay attention to them. I'm so excited for the next film. And those people make this list too. So they're people who likely have directed something before, and maybe I just didn't really notice it. And then all of a sudden they smacked me in the face with one of their films. So I hope you find this list entertaining and fun, and I'll explain all of my choices along the way. So hopefully this video isn't too long, but it probably will be. Coming in at number 10 is Ryan Coogler for Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I think, first of all, I think Ryan Coogler is one of the best directors in the business. I don't think he's let us down yet. I think this man is gunning for an Oscar nomination. I don't know really what else to say about Ryan Coogler. I think he's one of the next batch of directors that's coming up right now that's going to lead us into the future. What he does with Wakanda Forever, if he had refused to direct it, I don't think Wakanda Forever would have been nearly as good. Didn't matter who came in. Spike Lee could have directed Wakanda Forever. It would not have been the same. Is because Ryan Coogler knew Chadwick Boseman and understood the emotional weight. He understood his story. He understood these characters. And I think Ryan Coogler being in that director's chair absolutely made Black Panther Wakanda Forever a better film. I think the choices that he made were great, and I am consistently excited every time Ryan Coogler is announced as the director of a project. So he comes in my number 10. Coming in at number 9 is a name that you probably haven't heard of, but we should talk more about. And that's Mark Mylod for The Menu. He is a director that's definitely flew under the radar Oscar season. But I was really sort of impressed by what he did with The Menu. The director choices that he made, the stylistic choices that he made. I love that the menu pops up. I love that we see the little each course when it pops up on screen. I like that he also he's subverting genres and mixing them too, This film isn't just one genre, it's multiple genres. And sometimes it's really hard to pull off. It's hard to be multiple things and also have commentary. A lot of people keep talking about how they love Triangle of Sadness because it has this commentary, this eat the rich. They're like, oh my God, I love The White Lotus, so I love Triangle of Sadness. And it's like, well, that's here in the menu too, actually, to a lot of extent. It has very pointed commentary. So Mark Mylod is somebody that I'm really looking forward to seeing more from. So he's in my top 10 list. Coming in at number 8, may surprise you that he's this low, but it's Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. I think I don't know the degree of difficulty for Spielberg here. Last year he directed my favorite film, which was West Side Story. I know that's weird. We didn't really talk about that a whole lot. I don't think anybody watched my best of when I put it out last March, but yes, my best picture choice last year was West Side Story because even though I loved Coda, I think, which was my number 2 choice, Spielberg made me love something I didn't like. I did not like West Side Story before he touched it. So I think there's something to be said for that, for him being able to turn something around. Here, he is basically just directing his life story, just with new names, and that I don't think the difficulty is there for him. However, he did an exceptional job of doing this film, of keeping us grounded. It's got an excellent cast, and it really makes you, in a year in which several directors tried to either capture their childhood, or capture the magic of film. You know, Sam Mendes with Empire of Light. I think Steven Spielberg did it best. I think he both gave you that sort of Wonder Years reminiscent back in the day feeling, while also completely, for people who love cinema, he gave you that feeling of the power and of that very first time that you fell in love. So I think he absolutely deserves to be on this list. He's Steven Spielberg, so it's I mean, he is his own curse. At the end of the day, you're like, oh, does he deserve the Oscar? It's like, I don't know. It's not Jaws. You know, I mean, it's not one of his, he's got so many good films. It's crazy. So, but yes, he does deserve to be on my list. Coming in at number 7 is Matt Reeves for The Batman. I was hesitant. I was like, I don't know about these casting choices. I remember when Jonah Hill was attached, and then he just completely became not attached, and then suddenly Paul Dano was the Riddler, and I was like, Paul Dano is the Riddler? What the... But then I reminded myself, and I was like, we had the same reaction with when Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker. And mind-blowing. One of my favorite performances of all time. So I was fully ready for Paul Dano to do something extraordinary, and he did. And actually, so did the whole cast. Matt Reeves took a film that's been done to death, a franchise. We've seen Batman way too many times in my lifetime, in so many different incarnations, done so many different ways. It was like, hey, is it possible to do it another way? Oh, it is. Oh, Matt Reeves found a way to do it a different way. It's detective story. It's dark. It's gritty. It's realistic. And I think he deserves a lot of praise for making the choices here. And it's another person who just flew under the radar. And if you've ever seen Matt Reeves direct anything else, you'd understand that this is not a fluke for him. I did have to leave off Top Gun, because I also saw Spiderhead, because that film was terrible. So it was a little bit hard for me to be like, oh, Top Gun's a great film, and he's obviously adding so much. And I was like, oh, Spiderhead. Never mind. He's not adding anything to anything. Joseph Kosinski may not be that great of a director. That film might have just been all Tom Cruise. So it's not quite the same thing. But with Matt Reeves, I've seen his other work, and this is not him capturing lightning in a bottle. He's got lightning in multiple bottles. So I'm excited to see what he does with the sequel. So, number 6 on my list is a film that I'm going to just straight up admit is not in my top 10. I gave this film a B plus, so it's weird that this film is here directorially. But when I think about stylized choices, when I think about a director that brought so much of themselves to the film, it's really hard to ignore Robert Eggers for The Northman. It's not my favorite film of the year. It's not even going to be in an honorable mention for the year. I thought it was a good film, but I think a lot of it had to do with the directorial choices that Robert Eggers was making. It's a tough film. It's gory, it's gross, it's crude. It's not necessarily happy fun times. I loved Viking Quidditch though. That was hilarious. But this is an example of a director making and taking risks, and going for it. And you could say the story is kind of Hamlet-like, and that's what this is. But man, does it go in its own direction? And I hated The Witch. I did. I hated The Witch. So for him to go from The Witch to this, I see sort of a lot of what he was trying to do in The Witch, and I see him sort of perfecting it in The Northman. So I think Robert Eggers is somebody to watch out for easily, moving along down the line. So yeah, shockingly, he's in. I wanted to make sure he got here. So coming in at number 5, and this is going to upset a lot of people. So be ready to throw your phone across the room or punch your TV or whatever. But I'm sorry. Coming in at number 5 are the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, I think what they did is great. I don't have a whole lot of context because they don't have a whole lot of just like a deep catalog of films for me to watch. They have like Swiss Army Man and this and okay, so they like to make weird movies. I don't know that it's always going to work all the time. I don't know that we're at that point where we're able to tell that for sure. So honestly, the Daniels are a little bit like Mark Mylod for me. They just did a little bit better job, which is why they're a little bit up higher on the list. They definitely took bigger swings. They had a weirder film and put it all together. And I'm really excited to see what they do in the future. But oddly enough, even though this film is going to win Best Picture and win them likely the Best Director Oscar this year, I don't think this is the best work they will produce in their career. I think they've still got something more out there for us. They're just starting out. So yeah, they come in at number 5 for me on my list. Number 4 on my list is maybe just a little bit different. It's gonna be another one, especially considering I'm putting them right above the Daniels. But I went with Scott Derrickson for The Black Phone. It's I realize that saying that some people are going to be like, wait a minute, what? And it's like, yeah, have you seen Scott Derrickson's other work? Have you seen The Black Phone? It took the best of Scott Derrickson and he told the story, and he wasn't necessarily worried so much about the other, like the stuff that he did with Sinister, right? Where it's just another, it feels almost like it's inspired. Like he felt like he had to make like an Insidious type of movie. This isn't, there's nothing really, he didn't feel like he was challenged by anything. Black Phone isn't in response to anything. It's just this film that he put together, and he told a great story. One that as kids we were all told to like stay away from vans and don't talk to strangers, and we all heard stories about kids getting snatched, and our parents always wanted to scare us away from these kinds of things. And I think, you know, and this story takes place in a generation in which kids still played outside. kids nowadays, it must be so hard to drive a van around and try to kidnap kids. You know, I mean, you have to pretty much get them going to and from like a bus stop because everybody plays inside because nobody wants to play in the front yard anymore. And the kids just don't do that. It's not the same culture. They're not riding their bikes around the neighborhood anymore and hanging out in parks. Everybody's playing video games or playing on their tablets or sitting aside at home. But Scott Derrickson really captured this little bubble. And Black Phone is one of my favorite films of the year, and it has a lot to do with the choices that he made. And the fact that I did not know how this film was going to end, and I didn't trust him to end it in a good way, said a lot about how the build-up to the end was working for me. So, yeah, I'm happy he's here. Number 3 on my list is Guillermo del Toro for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Yes, he deserves to be here. Actually, even more so. Like last year, after seeing Nightmare Alley, which I kind of felt like I could see what he was doing, and I was like, okay, well, this is a good Guillermo del Toro film. I like it. And then with Pinocchio, I was like, oh, well, no, this is. I felt like I saw the magic again. I felt like I saw the spark. I saw his creativity really, really churning. It felt like something he'd always wanted to make. He had such a deep understanding of this story and this character, this world. He did something different with it. It's his first foray into animation. Yeah. This is a no-brainer for me. So Guillermo del Toro is my number 3 pick. Sorry, my number 2 pick is Martin McDonagh for The Banshees of Inisherin. I think a lot of people just write him off as being a really good writer, and that his films just kind of come together because it had such a damn good script. I think this film is really well directed. I think that's part of the thing. It's well paced. The story, he knows exactly when to start and end. Yes, he's directing his own script, but a lot of people directed their own script this year. The Daniels directed their own script this year. Steven Spielberg directed his own script. Todd Field directed his own script. Ruben Östlund directed his own script. Sarah Polley directed her own script. So what are you what are we doing here? What are we doing? Huh? What's the fucking problem? So stop saying he's a screenwriter and everybody else is an auteur. It's just it's obnoxious and it's offensive because he deserves to be recognized with everyone else who did the same damn thing. Everybody else wrote their same fucking script and directed the same fucking movie. So I don't know why people keep constantly trying to be like, oh, he's just a screenwriter. No, it's a great movie he put together, and he made all of the right choices. So he deserves to be here. He is my runner-up though. So who did I put at number 1? Let's just say I'm feeling a little British. This person was not nominated for an Academy Award, and they probably should have been. And my winner for Best Director is Edward Berger for All Quiet on the Western Front. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I've talked to a couple people about this film, and I've talked to people who watched it later. I watched this like as soon as it came out. Like I was like, I've heard this film and I'm ready to experience it. And man, this film, it's definitely a film that I can't see myself watching again. I don't think I've felt this way since like 12 Years a Slave, where I just watched something that was just so incredibly powerful, and I don't feel the need to ever watch it again. But I can easily realize that its power, and it's in this day and age when we have a war raging on in Ukraine, a film that is so incredibly anti-war, especially coming from Germany. It's almost, the fact that this is coming from where it's coming is in and of itself almost like a unicorn. it's such a it's such a damn good movie. And I was so there were moments I couldn't breathe. There were moments that I just stopped, and I was just like, what? And then the ending, it just ends, and you're just like, oh my god. I don't think there's been a film like this ever. I think Saving Private Ryan has a more positive outlook on war. Uh, I, I've tried to explain it to people who are like, oh, you've seen it, and I'm like, yeah, it's like watching that first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan for like 2.5 hours is really, it's just when you think it's going to let up, it doesn't let up. And then it goes right back into it. And some more terrible shit happens. And then more terrible shit happens. And more terrible shit happens. And more terrible shit happens. At no point does this film ever go, yay, war. It's great. It's a good thing. This is fun. We're having fun. It doesn't show that camaraderie, that band of brothers where we're like, oh, we're all in this together, guys. It doesn't really give you a chance to feel that. They feel like they're a group of soldiers that are being hunted in some horror movie, and the only reason that they're ever together for 5 seconds, that they ever get a chance to breathe, is simply because it's that moment where you're waiting for like a jump scare, kind of, in a horror movie. It's like you're waiting for the next shoe to drop. And Edward Berger just did such a great job with this film, and it's crazy. He wasn't nominated, so he is my pick for Best Director of the Year. And I did say that I wanted to throw in a little bonus at the end, and that bonus is 5 first-time directors who deserve mentioning, because we don't really have a breakthrough director category. I realized I didn't name any women, so this category will actually probably be a little bit, might make those people feel a little bit better about their lives. My 5 choices for breakthrough director, starting at number 5, Carey Williams for Emergency. Number 4, Sanaa Lathan for On the Come Up. Number 3, BJ Novak for Vengeance. Number 2, Graham Moore for The Outfit. And my number 1 is Charlotte Wells for Aftersun. Most promising, I think, what she did with Aftersun. I'm really interested to see what she does next. I'm so interested in her deeply personal takes on things, and I'm excited. So even though, I'm sorry, I didn't feel the need for any of those 5 to be in my top list, because I just don't, I guess, even though I saw promise in all of their directions, I don't know. First time directors, I feel like I'm rolling a dice on how much did they contribute versus how much was it the script, how much was it the actors, how much was it. Charlotte Wells, though, is the one that I feel most likely. I think we're going to see some greatness from her in the future. So, anyway, that's it. So, you got Best Director and Best First Feature from me today. That was Edward Berger won, and Charlotte Wells was Best First Feature. So, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will be back with another Best of 2022 list. I'm down to just acting categories and Best Picture at this point, so shit's getting real. So, we'll see what we can give you tomorrow. I'll see you guys on the other side.